The story that you are about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts, featuring characters, events, or places that has played a role in shaping history. Please sit back and listen as I recite this narrative for you. José María Manuel Pablo de la Cruz Jarabo Pérez Morris was a Spanish serial killer who murdered 4 adults and an unborn baby between July 19 and July 21, 1958. Jarabo was born in Madrid, Spain on April 28, 1923. A few years later, he moved to Miami, Florida in the United States with his family. He despised America, and it was there that he committed his first crime, human trafficking, for which he was convicted and sentenced to 3 years in prison. He was confined in a psychiatric hospital in Springfield, Florida. After he was released, he returned to Spain a few years later in the 1940s. In Spain, Jarabo befriended many rich people and began a career as a gambler, although a terrible one, using the money that his mother sent him from Puerto Rico. According to Jarabo's friends, he spent a lot of money in poker and blackjack. Also in 1950, he began drinking heavily and using a lot of drugs. As the years went by, his financial situation became more dire because his mother stopped sending him money. Still, he was a handsome man and was apparently irresistible to women, as he had many conquests. Beryl Martin, a British girlfriend, wanted to sell a ring. She gave it to Jarabo, who sold it to businessmen Emilio Fernandez and Felix Lopez for a small sum. A few months later, Martin asked Jarabo to get the ring back. Jarabo decided to kill the 2 men rather than paying for it. On July 19, 1958, Jarabo went to the Fernandez's house. A 26-year-old servant woman allowed him to enter the house after Jarabo said that he was a police inspector. Once inside, Jarabo waited for Fernandez while the servant went to the kitchen to do some housework. Planning to murder Fernandez and not wanting to leave a witness, Jarabo took an iron and hit the woman on the head. She tried to defend herself, but Jarabo grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed her to death. After killing the young woman, Jarabo hid and waited for his main victim. When Fernandez arrived home, Jarabo shot him in the head, killing him. Jarabo then looked for the ring but did not find it. Amparo Alonso entered the house and saw Jarabo. The woman asked, "Who are you?" Jarabo again claimed that he was a police inspector, but the woman did not believe him and tried to run. Jarabo shot her, killing the pregnant Amparo and her unborn baby. Jarabo slept there and returned to his hotel the next morning. On July 21, Jarabo went to the store where Felix Lopez worked. Jarabo hid and waited. When the businessman showed up, Jarabo shot him in the head. On July 22, Jarabo took a bloody suit to the dry cleaners, who promptly notified the police. A few hours later, he was arrested. He was tried and convicted of the murders, receiving the death sentence for each of them. He was executed on July 4, 1959 by Garotteville. The Hungerford massacre occurred on August 19, 1987 in Hungerford, England, United Kingdom, when Michael Robert Ryan, a 27-year-old antiques dealer and handyman, shot and killed 16 people, including an unarmed police officer and his own mother, before shooting himself. The shootings, which were carried out with a pistol and 2 semi-automatic rifles, took place at a number of sites, including a school where he had previously attended. 15 more people were injured, but they all survived. No firm motives for the killings has ever been established, although one psychologist has theorized Ryan's motive for the massacre had been a form of anger and contempt for the ordinary life around him, which he himself was not a tangible part of. Home Secretary Douglas Hurd ordered a report into the massacre. Following the incident, the Firearms Amendment Act 1988 was passed, prohibiting the possession of a semi-automatic center-fire rifles and limiting the use of shotguns with a capacity of more than 3 cartridges. The shootings remain one of the deadliest firearms incidents in British history. Michael Robert Ryan was born on May 18, 1960 at Savernake Hospital in Marlborough, Wiltshire, near Hungerford, Berkshire. He was the only child of Alfred Henry Ryan and Dorothy Ryan. Ryan grew up in Southview, Hungerford, and relatives remembered him as a quiet, mostly sullen and quiet, self-centered boy. Ryan, who was short for his age, was mocked and bullied often but never retaliated, and as a result, avoided other children. At age 11, he moved from the local primary school opposite his home to the John O. Gaunt Secondary School, where he underachieved academically and would often play truant. He had a few friends but always shied away from any sporting or social events at school. At age 16, he left John O. Gaunt School to attend a technical college, the Newberry College of Further Education, intending to learn to become a building contractor. Although he tried hard, it soon became apparent that Ryan showed no flair for this trade and soon dropped out of college. He found low-paid work as a caretaker at a girls' school. His doting and indulgent mother would care for anything he couldn't afford, including cars, gasoline, insurance, and even his first gun, an air rifle, as he continued to live with his parents. Ryan had been issued a shotgun certificate in 1978, and on December 11, 1986, he was granted a firearms certificate covering the ownership of 2 pistols. He later applied to have the certificate amended to cover a 3rd pistol, as he intended to sell one of the 2 he had acquired since the granting of the certificate, a Smith & Wesson 38 caliber revolver, and to buy 2 more. This was approved on April 30, 1987. Ryan proudly displayed the weapons in a glass cabinet in his bedroom. It seemed that the guns gave Ryan the feeling of power and control that he had always lacked. Ryan, who was obsessed with the military, purchased army jackets, survival gear, and masks. He even persuaded the police to grant him a license to own more powerful firearms. They were unable to refuse him as he had no record of mental instability and no criminal record. However, they stipulated that Ryan install a suitable chopped steel cabinet in which to safely lock his weapons. At the time of the massacre, he was in licensed possession of Zabala shotgun, Browning shotgun, Beretta 92FS semi-automatic 9mm pistol, CZ Orso semi-automatic 32 caliber pistol, Bernardelli 22 caliber pistol, Norinco Type 56S 7.62 x 39mm semi-automatic rifle, and an M1 carbine .30 semi-automatic rifle. He used the Beretta pistol and the Type 56 and M1 rifles in the massacre. The first shooting occurred 7 miles to the west of Hungerford in Savernake Forest in Wiltshire at 12:30 in the afternoon of August 19. Susan Godfrey, 33 years old from Reading, Berkshire, was picnicking with her 2 young children when she was abducted by Ryan at gunpoint and shot 15 times in the back. He left her 2 kids, aged 4 and 2, sobbing by her body. Ryan then drove in his car, a Vauxhall Astra, from the forest along the A4 towards Hungerford and stopped at a petrol station 3 miles away from the town. After filling up, he entered the kiosk and fired with a pistol on Mrs. Margaret Dean, the cashier who was saved by armored glass. Ryan again tried to shoot her at close range, but this time his gun was empty. He left the petrol station and continued towards Hungerford. Mrs. Dean placed an emergency call to the police. 7 minutes later, he arrived at the row house he shared with his widowed mother in Hungerford. Ryan shot dead his mother, Dorothy, and set fire to their home at 4 South View, the blaze spreading to the 3 adjoining houses in the terrace. Mrs. Ryan's body was found lying in the road outside the house. Retrieving a semi-automatic Kalashnikov assault rifle and ammunition from a garden shed, Ryan began walking toward the center of town, firing bursts and reloading as he went. He shot and killed husband and wife Roland and Sheila Mason, who were in their back garden at their house in Southview. On foot, Ryan proceeded towards the common, injuring two more people, Marjorie Jackson and Lisa Mildenhall, age 14, shot in both legs. Mrs. Jackson contacted George White, a colleague of her husband, who contacted her husband Ivor Jackson, who were both later shot, leaving White dead and Jackson injured. On the foot back towards the common, he also killed Kenneth Clements, who was walking with his family. Returning to Southview, he shot 23 rounds at PC Roger Brierton, a police officer who had just arrived at the scene, killing him as he remained sitting in his duty car. Linda Chapman and her daughter Allison Chapman were next shot and injured, having just driven into Southview in a car. Ryan fired 11 bullets from his semi-automatic into their Volvo. Linda was hit in the shoulder, Allison in the right thigh, the bullets traveling into her lower back and severing some of the nerves, leaving her permanently disabled. Linda was able to drive out without further injury to the hospital. Taxi driver Marcus Barnard, on his way to visit his newborn son in the hospital, was shot through his windshield. He died instantly. A father and son emerged from a side road with two small girls. Ryan opened fire at the man, leaving the father dead in a puddle of blood. He emptied his gun into the car of a woman and her daughter, killing both. Abdul Khan, 84 years old, was cut down in his garden, dying as his wife cradled his head and injuring Alan Lepetit, who was walking along the road. Francis Butler was killed while walking his dog. An ambulance, which had just arrived in the road, was next shot at, injuring Hazel Hazlitt before it drove off. The savagery was as swift as it was deadly. 13 people died between 1:05 p.m. and 1:15 p.m. The final toll, 16 dead, 14 wounded. Police threw up roadblocks and used megaphones to urge residents to stay indoors. A helicopter carrying marksmen with sniper rifles reared overhead and teams of police with pump shotguns flooded the streets. Ryan had ensconced himself at the John O'Gaunt Secondary School, closed and vacant at the time of year for summer vacations, where he had previously been a student, by or before 2:30 p.m. Police surrounded the building. Train negotiators arrived to talk to him, but to no avail. Shortly after 8 p.m., a muffled shot rang out. Ryan had become his own last victim. Police said Ryan gave no clues as to why he had run amok. Neighbors portrayed him as a loner who became deeply depressed after the death 2 years ago of his father, a popular public housing inspector. Hi, this is Twisted Mind. Quick question for you. Do you like reading romantic stories? If so, in the description box below is a link to an app called Dreame that features a writer under the pseudonym of Annabel Lee. Please click and follow her. Thank you. Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took the time to listen to my narration. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I am Twisted Mind and please enjoy the rest of your day. Salamat!